Hi there, Doug Stuman with IT Creations with the Lenovo ThinkStation P7, bringing you the final piece in the trifecta of Lenovo's high-end workstations. I already did the P5 and the PX workstations, and yes, this is the second most powerful workstation that Lenovo offers. I did go a little out of order, but here it is. While this looks very similar to the Lenovo ThinkStation P5, there are several differences. Physically, it's a little thicker. By the way, if you like our videos, click that subscribe button or leave a comment. Maybe both. Let's get to it. Highly configurable, the Lenovo ThinkStation P7 workstation is designed for desktops and data centers with a rack-mountable chassis. It features ISV certifications for a variety of applications that enable it to tackle workloads for data scientists, engineers, architects, plus complex 3D rendering, game development, and fluid dynamics, just to name a few. The main differentiating factor between this system and the ThinkStation P5 workstation is the processor. I mean, both are single-socket systems, but the P5 runs on an Intel Xeon W2400 series CPU, while the P7 is outfitted with a W3400 series CPU. The P7 can handle twice the memory at up to 1 GB compared to 512 GB on the P5, plus up to 3 double-wide GPUs instead of just 2. I already went overboard on the redesign influence from Aston Martin in both the ThinkStation P5 and PX videos, one you can see right here. But I placed both links in the description below, if you're interested. If you saw those videos, you know what I'm talking about. If not, a quickie on that, it's the bright red surround in the front with the vented front panel reminiscent of the Aston Martin Superleggera DBS front intake grille. This one. Anyways, check out those videos for the full fanfare. In addition to the Aston Martin influence, the control panel on the front of the system looks identical to that of the P5. Lenovo PX does have a different control panel and more external drives, not to mention dual Intel Xeon scalable processors inside. The PX is a beast with several differences in performance and design both inside and out. As a result, any comparisons will focus on the P5 to P7 ratio. Back to the P7. From the top, a power on button with LEDs for power and storage, an always-on USB-A 3.2 Gen 2 connector, and another that's not always on, both offering 20 gigabits per second data transfer rates. That always-on connector, like it says, always on, whether the system is on, off, in sleep mode, or hibernating like a bear. Then a pair of USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 connectors with headset jack below that. Strangely, the front USB connectors are mentioned as only available on select models. Next, a diagnostic LCD switch to turn on the diagnostics display. Are you interested in the Lenovo ThinkStation P7? If you are, then for a limited time you could save up to $500 off the purchase price of a system listed on our site or one that you can configure at $5,000 or more. Just click that link for more information on this system. When you're ready to make a purchase, just mention this video. Simple and fast. A little management segue for you. Managing the system is basically through the OS, Windows 10, Windows 11, or using Intel vPro. Windows has a set of administrative tools which you can find when you click the Windows icon. With vPro, you have the Intel Active Management Technology and Endpoint Management Assistant, or Intel EMA. Intel EMA works with the Windows OS and will help to remotely discover, repair, and protect your ThinkStation and works out of band. That little diagnostic panel on the front is also quite useful. It'll allow you to test the hardware and potential OS settings that may be causing the system to misbehave. If there is an error message in the Windows notification area, you know, the lower right-hand corner of your screen, then you should or you could get a 4-digit error code on the diagnostic LED panel or QR code. The QR code you can scan, and the 4-digit code you can decode at another one of Lenovo's site pages. I will mention the diagnostic panel is only available on certain configurations. If your system is not one of those configurations, you can also download ThinkStation Diagnostics, link below. Another option for diagnosing problems is the Vantage app, which is pre-installed on the system. Type Vantage in the Windows search panel and press enter. This will enable you to run a hardware scan of the system to isolate and resolve issues. That Flex module right below can be used to support several options, including a 15-in-1 card reader or more storage with the inclusion of an NVMe M.2 drive, but only one. There are some restrictions on using that, which we will get to. On the back of the system, the lock nest at the top has 2 keys to access the lockable side panel with 4 PCI slots adjacent. If you were to get the lockable M.2 storage cage that goes in the Flex Bay, then there would be another lock nest and 2 more of those keys, one set for the side panel and one set for the M.2 FlexBay drive. On the I/O panel, a power on button with LED, audio line in and line out, USB-C 3.2 Gen 2x2 connector, 3 USB-A 3.2 Gen 2 connectors, and 2 USB-A 2.0 connectors with a 10 gig RJ45 network port below those. A 1 gig connector next, and an optional serial connector. There are 3 more PCI slots below those, a Kensington lock slot, and the power cable connector to a toolless removable PSU inside the case. The system is powered by either a 1000 watt or 1400 watt power supply unit. If you plan on loading up on GPUs with this system, then you will need the 1400 watt PSU. On the side panel is another Aston Martin influence with a recessed panel handle. Once we remove the side panel, you can see there are a few additional red accents than what we saw on the P5. Specifically, a few more fans and brackets to hold the GPUs in place. The Intel Xeon W3400 series processors compatible with the P7 do come in a few options: the W5, W7, and W9 CPUs. Intel's W5 CPUs offer 12 to 16 cores, W7 at 20 to 28 cores, and the top-of-the-line W9 series CPUs delivering 36 to 56 cores. At 56 cores, that's twice as many cores as the W2400 series CPUs supported on the Lenovo P5. This particular unit is outfitted with a W5 3433 with 16 performance cores, a base frequency of 3.1 GHz, and a turbo boost frequency of 4.7 GHz. W3400 series CPUs have 8 memory channels, or 4 more than the W2400 series, and can support up to 4 terabytes across 16 memory module slots. Although Lenovo has curtailed the memory support a bit by providing 8 memory module slots, but also by limiting the memory to 1 terabyte DDR5 total. Perhaps there will be an update supporting more memory. Hope springs eternal. All qualified memory supported on this platform will run at up to 4800 megatransfers per second. However, memory speed may be limited by the installed processor, with the lower end options only supporting speeds of up to 4000 megatransfers per second. Each of the 4 memory module slots to either side of the CPU have their very own memory coolers. For optimal performance, Lenovo recommends a memory module in each of the slots using the same type and capacity. Storage on this system can be done using all M.2 storage devices, just 3.5-inch storage devices, or a combination of the two. With the all M.2 option, you can install up to 9 M.2 drives total. That could include the previously mentioned FlexBay for 1 M.2 drive. However, if you want to maximize the drives and get to 9 drives total, then 2 NVMe M.2 drives would go in the 3.5-inch drive carriers using the internal drive bays at the bottom front of the chassis. With those bays filled, the FlexBay option is not compatible as they use the same motherboard connection. Personally, I would go with the 2 internal 3.5-inch bays unless you really need a removable M.2 drive. If that is the case, go with the FlexBay option. Of course, you can install 3.5-inch drives in those bays as well, and they will run off the chipset instead of the CPU with SATA Gen 3 drives installed. I think with that configuration, you can install the M.2 FlexBay. The M.2 in the FlexBay is removable, although Lenovo cautions removing it too often as it is somewhat sensitive. They also recommend not touching the connector. That said, it is hot swappable. Just press that little button and it pops out in a nice little aluminum heatsink that you can pocket. This is assuming you don't install the OS on that drive, which is not recommended. The immediately apparent M.2 slots are located on the top of the chassis and feature black anodized heatsinks with red slider locks. Those two have a PCI Gen 5 interface and offer the best performance out of all of your M.2 options, even the quad or dual M.2 carriers you might install in the PCI slots, but we'll get to that. Another M.2 drive can be installed at a 90-degree angle from the board and attaches to the metal part of the 3.5-inch drive cage adjacent to the removable power supply. It has 2 tabs on the back that slide into the mounting channels of the 3.5-inch drive cage. Lastly, for the full 9 M.2 drives, you would install a quad M.2 PCI adapter, but that will use one of the by-16 slots. The connection speed for that quad M.2 card is listed at PCI Gen 3.0. So to recap, 9 M.2 drives with 2 at the top, 2 in the 3.5-inch drive cage, 1 barnacled onto the side of the internal 3.5-inch drive cage, and 4 more with the quad M.2 PCI card in the PCI slot for up to 28 terabytes. That is assuming 4 terabyte drives used in all slots, which is what Lenovo has indicated in the specs. There will also be some additional hardware you will need to purchase, including brackets, fans, and M.2 backplane, and a cable respectively. I placed a link below in the description to visit IT Creations and check out the documentation section for the storage configurator for the full list of additional parts. The Lenovo ThinkStation P7 has 7 PCIe slots total. 3 are designated to support GPUs with a PCIe 5.0 by 16 physical length and bandwidth. Another by 16 slot has a PCIe 4.0 with by 16 link connector and can be used for the quad M.2 PCIe cards. Given that card is spec'd at PCIe 3.0, you won't lose any bandwidth using this connector. For the last slots, there is a Gen 4.0 by 8 slot and a by 4 slot, and lastly a Gen 5 by 4 slot right at the bottom of the chassis. Order of installation is quite specific. I will mention that all by 16 slots are 75 watt and the others 25 watts. If you do install, and I know you will, a high-performance graphics card, you will be using additional cabling for power. The P7 will support 3 double-wide GPUs at up to 300 watts each. I will mention that if you install 3 double-wide cards, you will be left with only 1 additional PCI slot, specifically slot 7, featuring a by 4 PCIe Gen 5 connector. The other slots will be covered by the GPUs. If you plan on installing half-length cards, there are extenders available on certain configurations. With single-wide GPUs, you will also get the full use of the PCI slots. Included in our system is a very capable NVIDIA RTX A4500 with 20 gigabytes of GDDR6 ECC memory. However, you can also install the NVIDIA RTX 6000 Ada generation for a little more kick, but that one does not support NVLink technology. If you need NVLink, then the RTX 6000, A5500, and the A4500 will do the trick, but you can only link 2 GPUs with NVLink. Just something to keep in mind. I'm going to take a small leap here, maybe just a shuffle, and say that other GPUs up to 300 watts are likely supported as well. They just haven't been thoroughly vetted by Lenovo. That takes time and resources. Using those PCI slots, you can install up to 8 additional Ethernet ports, which would be useful if you plan on rack mounting this chassis for multiple users. The system is WLAN and Bluetooth 5.3 hardware ready. Wi-Fi 6E is enabled with Windows 11 and Wi-Fi 6 with Windows 10. Installing an optional Thunderbolt 3.0 or 4.0 card will provide faster data transfer rates at up to 40 gigabits per second. And then there are additional storage options with quad and dual cards already mentioned. Like the Aston Martin Superleggera DBS and Lenovo's other high-end ThinkStation platforms, the ThinkStation P7 is built for speed and performance. It offers support for the latest applications with independent software vendor certifications. As a single-socket platform, it delivers some impressive core counts at up to 56 cores, support for up to 1 terabyte of memory, and the options of installing up to 3 high-performance double-wide GPUs. It's also highly configurable with a number of options to suit your workload and can be upgraded over time as budget allows. The next level up is the Lenovo ThinkStation PX, but only a small percentage of people would need that kind of power. P7 is just a small step down and nobody would realize that. If you're looking for one, try IT Creations by clicking that link right there or one in the description below. Subscribe to our channel for more reviews of the latest hardware and give us the thumbs up if you like this video. Till next time, I'm Doug Stuman with IT Creations, and thanks for watching.